Ladies and gentlemen, now please welcome to the stage interviewer Matthew Herper and Martin Shkreli, founder and CEO Turing Pharmaceuticals.
All right, Martin, well, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
So a few months ago on national TV, you said that you at least would think about lowering the price of Daraprim from the level to which you'd raised it after buying it. You decided not to do that. Why?
Well, so I think there's two reasons. Probably the reason we said and then the reason we didn't say too much about, and I'll go through both. The first reason is, well, we talked to our customers, and the biggest complaint we had was hospital customers getting Daraprim. So we're lowering the price for them to be fairer to me. We did lower the price for the hospital customers. And we are releasing a smaller bottle, which is, I think, almost ready to hit the shelves now, which will make it much easier for hospitals to afford. So that's sort of the primary reason. We talked to our customers, and that's what they wanted. The second reason we didn't talk about much, but I'll tell you here today, is that we have shareholders. We have shareholders just like every other company. And our shareholders want us to maximize our profits. And lowering the price of our product is in direct contrast to achieving that objective. Under Delaware law, companies are, by law, required to maximize opportunities for shareholders, especially to maximize them when there's a conflict of doing something good for yourself versus doing something good for your shareholders. By law, you absolutely have to do what's good for your shareholders. And it would be better for me to not lower the price, to lower the price. I wouldn't be in the hot seat with you. But the reality is my duty is my shareholders. And if I don't maximize opportunity for my shareholders and do something for my own vanity, which I think a lot of people do, I could get sued for that. And it's wrong. It's not.
You're worried about getting sued? Martin Shkreli is worried about getting sued?
Definitely not worried about getting sued, but I'm worried about doing something for my own benefit, like not being so much in the crosshairs of folks at the expense of my shareholders, that's my primary duty. It's called fiduciary duty. It's not a new concept.
No, it's not a new concept. But why is Daraprim sold under a closed, restricted system? I mean, this is fairly key to your ability to maintain this price. What's the justification here? Initially, this was used for drugs that are unsafe or have side effects. Why is it okay to do here?
I think almost every very expensive drug is sold under closed distribution because it's such a complicated reimbursement process that it's better for the patient to not go to the pharmacy and get the pharmacist.
So your closed distribution system is to counter the financial toxicity that you've created.
No, it's to help patients with. Every company does it. That any company that has a drug that's a very expensive product, by far and away the best way to do it is through a closed system. I mean, that's well known.
But okay, so why should this be an expensive drug?
So there's a number of reasons, but probably the first reason I'd go through is the one I walked through earlier that we don't talk about a lot, which is our shareholders expect me to make as much money as possible for them, and that's the ugly, dirty truth. And I raised $100 million in our Series A, which is the fourth largest Series A ever for drugs. In 2 weeks, without a roadshow, I picked up the phone, made a few phone calls, I got $100 million in the bank. And my investors know what I do with that money. I multiply it for them. That's my job. And I do it really well, and I'm going to keep doing it. And that's part of what capitalist America is all about. And as long as patients don't suffer, which we bend over backwards to make sure they don't, and we're responsible with the profits. We're not taking those profits and endowing a library in my name or something. We're taking the profits and doing research with those profits.
But drug prices are supposed to be an incentive system.
I don't know what it's supposed to be. It's a business. We're supposed to make as much money as possible, Matt. I mean, at the end of the day, I just explained that there is a fiduciary duty to shareholders. And I cannot break that duty because you tell me to, or because some magazine is going to say, what a bad guy. It doesn't work that way.
And is there a duty to society? Is there a duty to patients?
I know that society can't put you in jail for violating fiduciary duty, but the federal government can. So I think that I take the law very seriously. Delaware law is explicit. You must maximize shareholder opportunities. And by the way, if I wasn't known to do that, I'd have a lot harder time raising money. I mean, I'm shortly going to announce a deal where I'm buying a company that is out of money.
You're announcing that you're going to announce a deal?
Yes. That is what I'm doing. And so the point is, you know our business model. We look at 30, 40, 50 deals at a time. And a good half of those companies that we're acquiring are developing really interesting, cool drugs that need that incentive system you're talking about, need financing. But good half of them are out of business. And I don't like being out of business. I don't like when my employees need to be fired. I don't like when my stockholders are angry at me. So I'm going to maximize profits. And whatever you say about how the system works and so forth, at the end of the day, I think that's what people are afraid to say. It's probably what Horizon, one of your sponsors, in fact, is afraid to say after doing lots of price increases themselves, and Valiant and others. Not to pick on Horizon, it's a great company. It just happens to be right in my face. The idea that there's something wrong with capitalism and that pharmaceuticals are exempt from capitalistic ideals, it's insane.
So you say that patients still have the access they had before.
Yep.
Are you sure? Mm-hmm. Because it does look like Express Scripts, so I will consider the source, but Express Scripts does say that their volumes of Daraprim went down after the price increase within their system. And there have been case reports of, for instance, an HIV reporter at Tucson. This was in November, and this is through the IDSA, but after a lapse in the patient's care, his CD4 count went up, and at the time of his return to care, he did not have health insurance. I ordered Daraprim for him, and our pharmacy could not get it for him for multiple reasons. It cost prohibitive even with 340B pricing, and it also required paperwork which would delay access. And after multiple phone calls, the patient was switched to atovaquone. So there are stories like this. There are people who don't have gotten the drug.
I don't think so. So there's a number of confounding factors that are pretty important to understand here. When we bought this drug, the prior owner was in the midst of changing the distribution system. They did that without our prompting, by the way. We were going to do that, make no mistake about it. We were going to do it ourselves. But we were shocked. We were actually in discussions with Express Scripts. I can reveal this. And Express Scripts emailed me the other day begging for our business. And I can send you that email if you like. They wanted to distribute Daraprim. And instead, and we actually we said, when we buy this drug, we'll give you the contract. And they were thrilled. And then what we saw, amazingly, Express Scripts sent us an email, and I said, well, it turns out that we got this email from Impacts that says that Walgreens is going to be the distributor of record. And we said, well, it looks like you're SOL. Most of you know what that is, I think. And they're out of luck. And so we told Express Scripts, sorry, we can't distribute Daraprim, which is, they're going to lose out on $5–10 million of fees. So I don't know if this reaction is something, is related to that. But the point of my story is that the distribution change, which was not authorized or expected, quite frankly, by us, that disintermediated and caused all these eruptions. I wouldn't go post hoc ergo propter hoc with our company. We've done everything possible to make sure everyone can get the drug. This is the prior manufacturer's fault.
Even if it's recent?
It's not. They changed the distribution just before we bought the drug, and they didn't tell anyone. They didn't put out a sales force. We hired 50 people to go get the word out on how to get our product. I personally answer product acquisition phone calls. I dealt with Mass General on getting a illegal aliens pill for free. 65% of our drug we sell for a penny. So I don't really think it makes a lot of sense. We've got 200 people at Turing that are dedicated to make sure everyone gets their medicine. And by the way, that's 200 more people than anyone has ever had for this medicine.
But did patients need 200 people dedicated to getting them their medicine at the previous price? I mean, this drug is produced as a generic at much lower prices elsewhere in the world and is being compounded at a much cheaper price than you're charging, which has got to be a lot more expensive than manufacturing it.
Yeah, no, I'll just go back to my prior statement. I mean, we like most companies, we have a duty to maximize our profits. Coca-Cola has a duty to do it, Procter & Gamble has a duty to do it, and so do we.
You think there's absolutely nothing wrong with what you're doing?
Absolutely not.
Does anyone want to ask a question? Oh, well.
Bring it on.
Hey, thanks. Will Germain, New York 1.
Are you the cameraman?
Yeah. Well,
Jesus
I'm a reporter,
Christ.
camera guy.
Okay.
Do it all these days. Okay, so two quick questions.
One. Sorry.
The explanation for your pricing strategy seems to be based mostly on a economic justification.
Right, I mean, the one I'm giving out that I haven't given out before, there's a R&D justification too.
So I mean, do the ethics come into play at all in your mind when creating pricing strategies like this? And then my second
No second question, sorry.
Is,
Matt was
doing,
explicit that there would be one question.
This ties in. If what you're doing really is legal and right as far as the eyes of the law are concerned, then can you explain why you're the subject of multiple federal investigations right now? One from the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York, and from a United States Senate committee.
Yeah, well, I'll take your second question first because it's more interesting. I mean, politicians love to beat up on guys that are seen to be, public enemies, if you will. You know, that's a great way to get elected. That's a great way to get your.
It's an even better way to get elected if you put them in jail.
It is. Just ask our friend Elliot Spitzer. But at the end of the day, that sort of that comes with the territory. With respect to your first question, which was
It was ethics.
yeah. So I read a lot of my business trading from Warren Buffett, and in the 60s and 70s, Warren Buffett bought a company called See's Candy, and Buffett bragged in his letters about raising the price of See's Candy every year. Every year he got away with big price increases. And as a capitalist, it's your favorite thing is pricing power. And at the end of the day, if you want all corporations to not have the obligation to maximize shareholder duty, we should take a big old vote and have the Senate and Congress change the law. But right now, that's the law. And our job is to, as executives of a company, is to maximize shareholder duty. It's, last time I read carefully, the laws, ethics are, one's general conception of ethics are generally not at play here.
Another one? Up here.
Hi, I'm Kim White with Edelman, and I have two questions for you. The first is, if you could rewind the clock a few months, I wonder if you would do anything differently. And the second is, I'd like to know if you think corporate reputation matters.
I probably would have raised the price higher, is probably what I would have done.
Why?
I think healthcare prices are inelastic. I could have raised it higher and made more profits for our shareholders, which is my primary duty. And again, no one wants to say it. No one's proud of it. But this is a capitalist society, capitalist system, and capitalist rules. And my investors expect me to maximize profits, not to minimize them or go half or go 70%, but to go to 100% of the profit curve that we're all taught in MBA class. The second question is about reputation.
But if you're maximizing profit for your shareholders, why are you spending it on R&D?
Well, that's going to maximize long-term earnings.
Okay.
So those R&D investments, we hope to make 10, 20, 50 times our money on.
And so essentially here, you think that patients aren't being harmed, and that you're actually doing more R&D, which is good for the long term.
Yeah, and I think if you question all of this...
I mean, are you Robin Hood stealing from the insurers and giving to the R&D community? Is that the...
Maybe, but before we self-label ourselves, I think the harder thing is, try to be a CEO yourself, see how it goes. Try to maximize profits and not get kicked out of a company, and let me know how that goes for you. Price drug's really low. You won't last very long. It's people that are willing to make these hard choices, grow earnings for their shareholders, and again, try to do the right thing with those profits, and make sure that no patient's left behind, make sure that we invest in a disease that hasn't had a new investment in 70 years. We're sitting on one drug for toxoplasmosis that's 70 years old. You don't have to have a PhD in infectious diseases to know that's a dangerous place to be. We're developing 3 new drugs for toxoplasmosis, which, by the way, will be very expensive if they ever get approved. But hopefully will replace pyrimethamine as the backbone of therapy that we've been relying on too long. It'd be like interferon still being the backbone for Hep C. It wasn't a pretty picture, and we're all happy that Gilead's here, right?
So does corporate reputation matter to you?
I think it does. I think that, we just announced a deal with Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto University. We're proud to announce that. I think it was yesterday or today. And we're developing the first ever drug for a rare disease
But
called...
you're sacrificing a huge amount of corporate reputation.
I don't think so. I'm
Almost
explaining
on
to you right
promise.
now that we signed a major agreement with a major research university to develop a rare disease drug for Lafora disease. They could have gone to ISIS. They could have gone to Biogen. They went to us.
So you're saying that your mass reputation may not matter, but you think you can still have a reputation within...
Absolutely. When I meet with companies one-on-one, I told you in the break room, we're in negotiations with a major pharma company right now to acquire a drug, and it hasn't hurt us one whit.
So all these negative statements are just for show? Is that your...
Well, I mean, I think that if there's folks that want to make negative statements, that's up to them. But like I said, I'm running my business, and it hasn't affected.
You're also running a second business now. You bought shares of a company called Kalo Bio, and the stock surged partly because of a short squeeze. Had you anticipated that? Was this just a play to get the short squeeze?
That's your perspective. My perspective is about 70% of a company, and people have made a lot of money investing on me before, and people are doing it again.
Okay. Did you anticipate? It was certainly helped by the short squeeze. There were a lot of people short. We've all seen short squeezes. There's nothing wrong with them.
I see some former hedge fund managers here, and I'll tell you that this phenomenon of a short squeeze is probably a little more fictitious than you might think. There weren't that many people short Calabios before. I don't think there are that many.
Just that one guy
right now.
with the
the poor guy who lost his life savings betting against a company with a fabulous cancer drug. As far as I'm concerned, he deserves to lose all his money. But it's a great drug. It was run by an inept management team before. They've got a good management team now with a great track record. The company's only worth $100-something million. That's still cheap as far as I'm concerned.
One more. Anybody?
Yes, up here.
Okay.
Steve Miller with Express Scripts.
Ah, good.
So on distribution, we did support the drug's distribution when it was $13.50.
Sorry, you're talking about Express Scripts?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
From Express Scripts.
Whatever.
So we supported the drug's
I don't have a question for you, to be clear. I
Yes.
don't want you to answer anything. Do you have a
No, I
question
have-
for me?
Yeah, so we supported the drug when it was $13.50.
He gets fair response here, Mark.
We don't support the drug when it's $750. My question for you is, have you talked to the infectious disease community to see if anyone's being harmed by your new
I
product?
actually do think you guys support it because you're not excluding our drug, are you?
No, if doctors want to use your drug,
So
they
it
can
sounds
still do
like you're all good.
it. We are all good with our dollar solution, that's true. Have you
You're
talked
all
to-
good. So if someone writes a prescription right now for Daraprim, you're still accepting it.
That's correct.
Awesome, man. Thanks for your business.
Have you talked to the infectious disease communities to see if you're
I have.
harming patients?
They're thrilled at our first time a company has ever developed a drug for toxoplasmosis. And your
That's
company,
not what IDSA and HIVMA are
well,
saying.
they're not the infectious disease community. They're not even close to the infectious disease community. Meet with these guys, see what you think. I don't think you have a lot of respect for them at the end of your meeting. In fact, we're the first company to develop drugs for toxoplasmosis. You're the kind of company that likes to limit innovation. We're the kind of company that likes to do it. So I'm proud of what we're doing, and thanks for your comment.
All right. Well, that's that. Thanks, Martin. Thanks for coming. We all get to go to lunch now.
Thanks, Pat.
Thank you.